always said in the need to bring awareness to the need to protect one's eyes when one's playing sport. We always said we needed a star. We needed a spokesperson. Well, guess what? We didn't get a star. We got a superstar. We NBA Rookie of the Year, 4-time All-Star, 2007 All-NBA, a superstar. A superstar who feels passionate about this issue. How lucky and how blessed are we? In terms of Amari, Amari will tell you his story, and he will also tell you about how he's willing to influence the behavior of young people. He is committed to wearing eye protection. He probably might not even be here today. His team would be in the playoffs, and he might still be playing today if it wasn't for the tragic eye injury that he had. But that will not stop Amari. Amari will be back next season, superstar once again, but he'll be wearing his protective sports eyewear, and he'll be spreading the message for other people to avoid what he went through. So with that, it's with great pleasure, and he's just gotten finished speaking to TV, radio all over the U.S. to bring attention to the summit, bring attention to the issue that we all feel passionate about as ophthalmologists, optometrists, as people who see these terrible eye injuries. So with that, I'd like to introduce Amare Stoudemire. We couldn't have a better spokesperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Berman. The mic may be a little short for me, but what's that? Okay, yeah, hold it. That works. Thank you. Well, yeah, I got drafted into the NBA back in 2002, straight out of high school. I was verbally committed to the University of Memphis at the time with Coach Calipari, and went on ahead and entered the draft. And so, with that being said, I was the first player ever in the history of the NBA to receive the Rookie of the Year award straight out of high school. I think that was a huge accomplishment for me because my ultimate goal was to become an NBA star, and for me to, go straight out of high school, from high school to the NBA, and win that award was a huge accomplishment for me at the time. I was 19 years old, and I made history. I was the first to ever do it, so my jersey will forever be in the Hall of Fame for that. But a few years after that, I went through a last season, as a matter of fact, high expectations for this season. We acquired Shaquille O'Neal, we had Steve Nash as our point guard, and we was totally ready to win a championship. And during training camp, I had a slight ankle injury, and I was just recovering from my ankle injury and getting back in great shape. And I actually went back to practice a day early. And that day, I was on a fast break, and me and my teammate Boris Diaw was both on the same track, and he happened to run and make contact with me in full speed, and his finger, poked me directly in my right eye. So I hit the ground, couldn't really see anything for about 3 minutes. I thought I was blind. I was blind. I was nervous. I was panicking. I was praying. So for 3 minutes, I couldn't see anything. It was just totally dark. And the trainer dropped a few drops in my eye. I still couldn't see, and it was a terrible feeling. It was a terrible feeling. And I told myself at that point, I said, you know what? I'm gonna wear some goggles for the rest of my career. I told reporters, I told everybody, I'm gonna keep my eye protected. So I was able to make it back from that maybe a month after that incident. So I made it back, and I didn't have the time to really, take my goggles through a test run. So I just the first goggles I saw, I just went ahead and wore them. I put them on, and I wore them for about 2 months in the season. So you know what, they're not what I want, because I never had time to really adjust them and critique them and take them through a trial and error. So I took them off. Played a few weeks without them, and then coincidentally, I was after the All-Star weekend, and I became the NBA starter and All-Star the first time in my career I was able to become a starter. And so the next game, 2 games after, as a matter of fact, I was on a tear. I think I had like 35 points in the first half. I was chasing the 50 plateau. And in the second half, I got poked in the eye again, in the exact same eye. I was going to try to block this shot, and Al Thornton, who plays for the Los Angeles Clippers, poked me in the eye. And at the time, it wasn't as bad as it was the first time, the training camp incident. The first time I got poked, and I forgot to tell you guys that back in training camp when that happened, I suffered a torn iris in that eye, in that right eye. So fast forward back to that game against the Los Angeles Clippers, I got poked in the eye again. And the funny thing about it is that I told my doctor, I said, my trainer, I said, I want to go see, my doctor, the eye doctor, after, when we get back to Phoenix after the game. He said, sure, no problem. So the game went on, then I got poked in the eye. And then once I flew back to Phoenix after the game, I had, that game, like I said, I was on a tear. I had 45 points. We blew those guys out. It was a phenomenal game. And we was totally ready to, make that playoff push. And went back and saw my doctor. And he said, what, Amari, you have somewhat of a detached retina. So I'm like, okay. You got some goggles for me to put on? He's like, well, no, man, we have to have a procedure done, or you can lose your sight. I was like, how long would it take for me to lose my sight? Can I just play the rest of the season in playoffs, win a championship this year, and take care of it this summer? He was like, no. He said, coincidentally, is that the gravity is actually working against you. So he's like, within a day or two, or even a week or so, you can lose your sight. So I was like, lose my sight? Like, are you serious? Can I, be totally blind in the eye? It's like, yeah, once you lose your sight, you can't get it back. So I was upset. I had mixed emotions. One emotion was, okay, my teammates, my team, my city. Once they hear the news that I'm out for the rest of the season, yeah, that's going to be a bummer to the city, to the team. Championship host is over, totally upset about that. Secondly, it's my family and kids. Like, would I not be able to see my kids out of my eye again? Like, can I not play with my kids like I want to now? Like, what, So I'm having mixed emotions, mixed feelings. And just over time, I, talked to my friends and family and doctors. And, it was the right decision to have that procedure done. So I had the procedure done. So what they did was went in there and they tried, drain some fluid out, and the operation. You guys are professionals at it. You guys know what it takes to really heal that detached retina. But it took a while for me to really get used to it, because after that procedure, my vision was horrible. It was horrible. I'm like, wait a second. I thought I was supposed to help my vision. But he was like, over time, it'll increase, it'll get better. Just over time, you just have to be patient with it. Patience, patience, patience. I'm like, patience, can I go work out at least? can I do something, to keep my metabolism up? Because, being a professional athlete, and we're always working. We're always either working out or playing basketball or some type of activity, every day. And for me not to be able to do anything was tough for me, But I can say, I've been blessed to be able to bounce back from injuries before, and I've been mentally strong enough to overcome a lot of adversity, So it's just another one of those episodes where I have to pretty much bounce back from this again. And this is great to be here, a part of this Vision Summit, because I think a lot of kids and a lot of parents don't quite understand how important it is for kids to have, checkup on their eye. Because one thing my doctor told me, he said, hey, even though you got poked in the eye against the Clippers, that's not necessarily a fact that, because of that that's not the reason why, the cause of your detached retina. It could have happened over time. You said because of the damage to your eye, it could have happened just over time. So, and as I start thinking back, I start reflecting on, I got poked in the eye back when I was 10, I got poked again, when I was 12. I got poked again when I was 14. Just over time of that damage, can build up to, eventually become a detached retina. And luckily me, I'm happen to be a professional athlete to where I'm being monitored by doctors and trainers. But there's so many kids and young players out here in the world that's not being monitored and don't even have a slightest idea on what a detached retina is or iris. They don't even know what an iris is. They have no idea about their eyesight, period. All they know is that they can see, and 20/20 is the best vision you can possibly have. That's what these kids think. So it's great that, Dr. Berman and you guys have allowed me to be a part of the summit, because it's very important to raise the awareness for these kids and for them to understand how important it is. So, I just want to share that with you guys and kind of a glimpse of my story. But because of this would definitely help so many other kids out there in the world, to help them to become smart. I did maybe 25, 30 interviews this morning, on radio, TV, all across the country, and on promoting this. So, and it's big time. It's big news, because a lot of reporters want to talk about basketball and playoffs, but always, bring them back to reality. Hey, I'm here in Washington, D.C. for the Vision Summit, and these are the reasons why. So this is great to be a part of it. And Dr. Berman and my agent Charlie have been talking all along, and didn't know that Dr. Berman was a part of this until he actually got here in town, and so it's great, man. It's a positive movement for these young kids, and I thank you guys for having me, and let's continue to impress these kids and keep these kids aware of what's going on with their eyes. Thank you.